Oh, a really loud laugh.
Have you ever seen your waveforms? It's hilarious.
My laugh is delicate.
Yeah.
And feminine.
Delicate like a rhinoceros. This is really weird doing it in person. You're right there.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Like, usually...
It's an emotional moment for me, Edgar. It's
a nervous moment for me.
It's been 11 and a half months since I've seen you in person.
I know. It's crazy. And now we get to see each other in person while working.
Yep.
It's very strange. We are in person because both of us went and saw Star Wars together last night. So this is going to be a Star Wars episode on the Artifexian podcast. But, no spoilers. We're going to record a regular episode. And then at the end, we're going to talk about Star Wars. So we'll put a very clear marking saying that this is now the spoilery section.
Here be spoilers.
Here be spoilers. Just so people...
abandon all pretense, ye who enter here.
Exactly. So for people who don't care about spoilers, they can just keep listening the whole way through. For people in the future, they can just keep listening the whole way through. But for people who really care about spoilers, there will be a clear marking. Proceed no further after this point.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right, should we do some follow-up first?
Let's do some follow-up.
Okay, so...
What do you got?
As always, I have loads of things to follow up on. The first bit of follow-up I want to mention is hashtag Team Licorice. It has taken off, and by taken off, I mean I had one tweet from a guy called Tom on Twitter, and he is now our inaugural member of Team Licorice. And he sent a picture of himself holding a few of those like licorice all sorts sweets.
Yes.
Yeah, I retweeted this at you.
Yes, I saw that.
It was very good. I have one problem though. There was 4 or 5 hands in that photo, and only one of them had licorice. I feel that Tom needs to tell his friends that they also too must get on board with Team Licorice and enjoy the wonder that is licorice. So, Tom, you talk to your friends and get them to send pictures to me. Hashtag Team Licorice. And just because I put this at the end of the last show, so I want to restate it here right at the very top. Anyone who likes licorice and is a fan of licorice, please tweet at me or Facebook me or find me on social media. Ideally with a picture of you holding some licorice and with the hashtag Team Licorice, because this needs to be a thing. There has to be more licorice awareness in the world. And we are discriminated against, licorice likers. We are. Don't look at me like that. We totally are. Everyone's all like, ooh, that's disgusting. That's an old man sweet. It's not. It's cool and it's delicious. Why are you looking at me like that?
You're weird.
It's so strange that now that we're in person, I get to see Bill's reaction to what I'm saying. Because usually it's just...
Yeah, I can't keep up my usual diplomatic facade. It'll all be laid out bare. Anyway.
When we're talking, I always think, oh God, Bill is like, while I'm ranting on my stories, Bill's like sitting there with his head in his hands, just shaking, going, why did I sign up for this show?
Only about 40% of the time.
Only 40% of the time. In my head, it's like 110%.
Shot in my foot, Edgar.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. We're very close, listeners. We're what is it, maybe 2 feet apart?
About a meter, maybe?
About a meter. So, yeah, hashtag Team Licorice. Let me know. Tweet at me. Facebook me. If you like licorice, I really want to hear from everyone. Yeah? Let's make this a thing. I have another thing to say as well, is last episode, I need to apologize to everyone who does not live in the US. Because we had a very Irishy episode last time where we talked a lot about Irish stuff. And I kept saying, can you explain for all the people,
for all our American
listeners, and which is terrible because Dominic, as far as I know, our resident space cartographer, he is German.
Yeah.
He's German. We have a couple.
Do you know
him? Oh God. we have I think a Danish listener. We had an email from someone from Denmark. We have English listeners as well. We have a lot of people who aren't just from the States. So I need to apologize for branding everyone who's not Irish as US citizens. That's not very cool. So yeah. And then I suppose one more thing is we had more math world building in the subreddit from Cerberus, who left the part 2 essentially on how to world build with math. And I'm not gonna restate his points. They're very good and they're in the Reddit for anyone who wants to go check it out. I just want to put forward an additional thing, and that is origami as maths. Do you know about this?
I don't think I've come across this specifically before, but it sounds like a very natural...
Yeah, it sounds mathsy.
Yeah.
Like so, you know the way in the Western world, or in Europe, say, math sort of began with a straight edge and compass. And that's how
Right, yeah.
we began to figure things out. In the East, in China, I believe, they didn't have straight edge and compass, or they didn't prefer it, say. And they did their kind of Pythagorean stuff with origami, with folding paper.
Japan?
It could be Japan.
Or origami then?
I don't know. In the East anyways, but the point is they did not favour straight edge and compass. And what makes it cool, what makes this actually a better system, not just kind of like, oh, it's different, it's actually better than the straight edge and compass, in that you can cube root things when you origami. You can split things very easily into threes, and you can do cube root. So you cannot do that with straight edge and compass.
Because 2-dimensional origami can be 3-dimensional.
Yeah. Well, it's not even 3-dimensional, it's just you can fold very nicely into cube roots. I'll throw a link in a video. I'll throw a link in the description to a video on this.
Okay.
And it's actually a superior system. I just want to bring that up because it got me thinking when I watched this video about, say you have a scene in a novel or something, and you go to the wise old sage sort of, the kind of father figure who knows a lot about the world, and it's a stereotypical thing where he's kind of like a quasi hermit, and his room is kind of Da Vinci-esque, with bits of inventions everywhere. A nice little flavour could be a lot of origami spread around the room. And people like me would go, oh, I get it. He's trying to understand how the universe works and things like that. I think that's a cool point.
I can think of one example in fiction of origami being used in that kind of way.
Oh, go.
I've probably mentioned before a comic series from the 90s called The Invisibles.
I don't think you have, at least not in the podcast.
Oh, okay. It's by Grant Morrison, who's very, very big comic writer, Scottish dude. And he went over to DC in the late 80s and was doing a lot of interesting stuff in the 90s. But he wrote this series, The Invisibles.
Okay.
And it was a huge influence on The Matrix in particular. Like the second series of it was actually on set during the filming of the first Matrix film. And it was used as a visual reference. And there's a lot of kind of common themes and things. But part of the plot involves a time machine. And the design of the time machine is derived from an origami.
Oh, right.
And I think the origami is made in Japan in the 40s, and then it traveled, this old Japanese dude makes it, and it travels to his descendant in the future who looks at it and figures out the maths behind it and how can fold space-time to be a time machine.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can get down with that. That's really, really cool. So I just wanted to chuck that in there. I think that's another additional point on math building. It's and in general for listeners, the YouTube channel Numberphile. I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this podcast are also watch Numberphile, but you'd be surprised how much world building resource is in that channel. It's amazing. It really is, and how much numbers can play a crucial role in a setting, in a world. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there you go. What's a question? What's your thoughts on The Matrix? Good film, bad film, or films plural? Should I say?
It's dated terribly. It's very, very dated.
Yes.
The first film, it's alright. The rest of the films aren't alright.
Aren't alright in the sense that you just don't like them, or aren't alright in they deliver bad messages, or
no, not like that they're offensive or anything.
Yeah.
It's a kind of filmmaking. I'm not a fan of how the Wachowskis make films at all.
Okay. What else have the Wachowskis done? Anything huge?
V for Vendetta.
Never seen it.
Which, yeah, it's all right, but part of... And this isn't a criticism that it didn't do what the original comic did. It's an adaptation. Adaptations do different things. And
of course, yeah.
But one thing that changed that I didn't like kind of on its own merits was that it became very slick. It was the fight scenes were very kind of clean.
Okay. And this is not what the...
And in the comic is written with this quite dirty art style and okay. I prefer action films and fight scenes that are a little bit kind of rough.
Like Die Hard.
I don't remember how Die Hard is shot, but have you ever seen Oldboy?
No, never heard of that.
Oh, Oldboy's amazing. Oldboy, okay. It's a Korean film. I think it's part of a trilogy.
What's the plot?
A guy gets kidnapped and locked in a hotel room for 20 years.
Yeah, no, I definitely haven't seen this.
And then he just suddenly gets released and he goes to find out what happened to him. And when he's in his hotel room, he just becomes obsessed with finding out why this has happened and with getting revenge. And he spends the 20 years or whatever just punching the wall and training himself to be able to fight.
Oh.
And there's an incredible fight scene in it where he's tracked down some guys that were involved somewhere, some guys that he thinks know why what happened to him happened, and he fights off a gang, and he's just got a hammer, just like a regular claw hammer,
Right.
and there's like 30 gang members, and it's in a corridor, and it's one long continuous shot from the side as he goes up and down the corridor fighting these dudes.
Cool.
But it's brilliant because they're all kind of crap at fighting. Like,
Okay.
it's not like everyone like executes perfect roundhouse and everyone is a taekwondo master. Like loads of them, like they go and they like throw a punch and they miss, or they stumble and they kind of get in each other's way and stuff. And it's just kind of messy and I don't know. It's just I much prefer that kind of thing. And also he's beating dudes with a hammer, which is just horrible.
I'm the opposite. I'm in favor of slick fight scenes. I think it's really cool.
Okay.
Really, really slick fight scenes are really good. Yeah, The Matrix, I think, is one of the best movies ever made. The 3 movies, I think, are just like a seminal work in science fiction. I'm totally on board with The Matrix. I'm with Neil deGrasse Tyson in this. Just want to say he thinks it's awesome as well. I agree with you. They are really dated. Like especially the big CG fight scene with all the Smiths.
Yeah,
I believe in the second one. I think it was
at the start of the second one.
The CG's horrible in that. Like it
wasn't even that good at the time.
Yeah,
as I recall.
it wasn't even that good.
The first one is dated very badly though. I mean the CG at the end of it, where he stops the bullets and stuff, it looks terrible.
Yeah. But I'm totally okay with that if the story's good, and I think the story is really good.
I don't particularly.
Really?
No, I don't particularly like it. I mean, I don't think there's anything that interesting about it.
It gets. I think maybe I like it, and it's going to make me sound like an awful hipster because as the series goes on, as the 3 movies go on, it gets more arty,
right,
and more. I'm going to say less about the violence, but I don't know if that's entirely true, and more about the philosophical ramblings and philosophical debate, and I think that's really cool to have in like mainstream cinema because you could easily repackage that as an art film, you know. And I'm totally on board. I think that The Matrix is awesome, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, that aesthetic, but I prefer it a bit more brutal and messy, a bit more metal. Oh,
speaking of metal, I believe we have some emails pertaining to metal.
Yes, we've got another one from Lupier.
Very good.
Who we've talked about before. He's emailed us a few times. Our resident black metal fan,
as he likes to be called.
He's got a couple of things to say. He first of all has read some of my work on Botswana and is very interested. And
did he find it as dull as I found it?
Yes, thank you, Edgar. You're such a lovely friend.
I am the best.
You didn't find it dull. You found it brilliant.
It was very good. It was very good.
He recommends the band Opera 9. I mean, it's typeset Opera IX. I assume it's pronounced Opera 9. They're an Italian symphonic black metal band. One of the very few black metal bands that's female fronted.
Oh.
And they just released a new one, Back to Sepulchro.
Okay. Have you listened to this?
I have, yeah.
Oh, good. What's your thoughts?
I enjoyed it.
Out of 12.
We're not doing that. It's very good example of that style. It's that kind of thing done very, very well. I'm going to actually mention a band that I'm into at the moment. Okay. They're called Denigrata.
Right.
They're an English black metal band. They're from Northampton, I think.
Okay.
And they're actually led by a friend of mine.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Denigrata herself, who I know through metal scholarship. Oh. She's a friend of mine. And they've just released their first album, which is Missa Defunctorum, Requiem Mass in A minor.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's sung largely in Latin, and it's structured like a Requiem Mass. Huh. But it's a black metal album. Cool. And as well as that, it incorporates some kind of elements from breakcore and stuff. Oh. So, Aphex Twin.
Yes.
And Otecker and Venetian snares. Yeah. Some of those kind of percussive sounds.
That's a cool mismatch of things.
It works. And then there's some classical elements. It's not quite symphonic, but there are classical elements to it. Like there's a soprano vocalist as well, and keyboard stuff. So yeah, it's very, very good. Their album's available on Bandcamp. I just got it there a couple of days ago, and I'm awaiting my physical copy in the mail. Should be arriving shortly.
Very cool. Will you show me some links now?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll put them in the show notes.
So anyone who's into black metal, definitely worth checking out. And there's those sort of tech and kind of breakcore elements to it as well that I think are very interesting.
Very cool. Very cool. Good. I'll chuck them in the show notes. And Lupia, let us know what you think.
For sure.
Yeah.
We actually got another email about music.
It's all about music today.
Yeah. This is from Jafiki99, I think. It's Jafiki91.
91, yeah.
Jafiki91. And they're asking a sort of a music theory question.
Oh.
And
I suppose we're the right people to ask for this.
yeah,
In a way.
2 music degrees.
Yeah.
The question anyway is, most music in the West is diatonic and heptatonic, so there's 7 notes per octave.
Okay, yeah.
And they're asking about tetratonic and pentatonic
So 4 notes
systems,
per octave.
so 4 and 5 notes per octave. And what they're looking for is an in-depth explanation of what it means for a culture's music to be tetratonic or pentatonic.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a hell of a question.
Yeah, it's a whopper of a question.
Yeah, it's very big. I mean, I've got some thoughts here, but what would you say?
Oh, my thoughts is that it's the sort of question that can only really be answered in a postgraduate paper, in a way. And there's a whole field of study dedicated to this sort of thing, ethnomusicology.
Yeah, ethnomusicology, which is anything that's outside kind of the Western classical canon, the Western classical tradition.
I would say that Jafiki should start by Googling that, we'll say, okay, and use that as a springboard. It's a really difficult question to answer. In terms of world building, my views when it comes to world building music is that one should concern himself less with the theory and more with the cultural implications of that music.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that.
But elaborate more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't world build music.
Yeah, same.
Why
not?
I'm too involved in it somehow.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
The way we think about music, especially from being from the West and our kind of cultural music, I understand the history of that quite a way back. Not like every element of it, but I can follow a thread pretty much the whole way back to Pythagoras in how music is theorized.
Which is something that the average person won't be able to do.
No.
And also won't care about.
Yeah, and just like, if you're super involved in architecture, not everyone is going to really care about the thread of architecture going back to Imhotep or whatever.
Exactly, and they're not going to care if you write a book where you go into massive detail describing the construction of various arches.
And I wouldn't go into massive detail necessarily if I was doing a story, but I would want the details to be correct. I'd to be happy, I'd need to have a theoretical basis back to kind of something foundational like Pythagoras, and the culture I'm presenting have the music developed on that, and then how it's involved with all the cultural stuff as well, which I guess is probably what you're kind of talking about, the cultural side of things.
Can you explain Pythagoras in a neat little bundle to people? Like because they will associate him with the triangle.
Okay, yeah. So Pythagoras was kind of a Greek mystery cult leader. Although he was. He was
a crazy dude. He also had a fear of beans, I'm told, and that played a role in his demise.
Huh.
I think his death was pertaining to beans.
Was he not stabbed by the Romans?
In a bean field.
All right.
According to Vihart on this, I'll link to the video. He seems like he's equal parts mad, delusional, brilliant, and really just not a nice human being. I'll link to the video.
Okay. So yeah, he led a sort of mystery cult. It was actually in modern day Sicily. He was a Greek ethnically, but Sicily was Greek for a long time.
Oh, cool.
I think anyway, and yeah, they did a lot of research into maths, and they discovered a lot of kind of things about mathematics, like the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
Or so it's assumed. He did execute a cult member who proved the existence of irrational numbers.
Yes, that was that undermined a lot of his ethos.
Yeah, which is pretty bizarre.
Yeah. But in terms of music.
Okay, yeah, so he developed a kind of consistent way of tuning instruments and of tuning notes. I won't go into it now exactly.
It's very maths heavy.
Notes are based on harmony in music is based on ratios between vibrations, between frequencies of the notes, and that's obviously a very mathy kind of thing. And he did a lot of work on that, and he thought that music was sacred to him. It kind of representing the harmony of the spheres and things like that, which is quite a common thread throughout Western music. So he was one of the first people who we can actually talk of as a music theorist.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'd be reluctant to actually try and world build actual music unless you kind of put in some groundwork, because otherwise you're just going to end up reproducing stale ideas of what's already in Western music.
And reluctant, for me, you'd be reluctant to world build the theory side of things as well.
See, I'd like to do it. I just know it would kind of take me down a rabbit hole that I'd never get out of.
Exactly. And again, no one would care.
Yeah.
No one would care about some like the ratio, like how many times we divide up the octave equally and things like that. No one cares.
It's not relevant really to nearly anything you're going to write.
Exactly. So how is music relevant in world building? How can it be made relevant?
As you said, like consider the cultural side of things.
Right. Elaborate more on that.
The way we think of music now, that we've got, the performers and the audience, and they're separate, and how the performance of music is facilitated as a kind of a cultural idea in our society, it is unique to our society. And as with everything else, when it's what we're raised to and what is part of our society, we don't tend to critically engage with it, and we kind of assume it's normal. Like, even the history of Western music is bananas.
You can elaborate more on that.
I don't know if you know much about, like, Renaissance music.
I specialised in Renaissance music in college.
Your Dowland stuff.
My Dowland stuff. Now, I specialised playing, not specialised in sort of the broader context of it. So, I think this is your field to cover.
Well, no, I have this one book here somewhere.
Oh, Bill stares at his shrine to dead trees. And picks up a tome. Okay, a dusty tome.
It is actually quite a dusty tome. I actually got this from the college library, I think.
What's it called? The
Pelican History of Music, Volume 2, The Renaissance and Baroque. Ooh. And you see there's a bit in here, because I got it, and there's a page missing.
Oh, good.
Well, I found another copy of this exact same book in work, so I just photocopied the missing page and stuck it in. Like,
class.
If viewers could see it, it's just like an A4 page folded and jammed in the correct place. Yeah, so the Dowland was in England, like the 1500s or so, like Elizabethan. Yes. This is a little bit earlier on the continent. So musicians were mostly men, pretty much always men, and musicians were servants.
Yes.
So they would wear the livery of like the house that they were working in. And you'd be raised as a child. You'd be taken as a child if you showed any promise and taught to sing. And then when you're a little bit older, you'd be taught to like play the clavichord or the viol or something. And then if you were good on instruments, you'd be taught to compose.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a great status to have good musicians. And people would kidnap musicians from each other.
Really?
Yes. So if you knew that your rival, 2 city-states away, had like a chap with a promising voice, then you would send your dudes and like kidnap that child and like bring him back to your household. So you would train him and he would be your singer and then composer.
And is this just purely that people want to have the best? Like, is this a status thing?
It's
like,
a status
I have
thing,
the greatest musicians in the land.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
That's interesting.
And that's just crazy. Like,
there's
an account in this book of some chap who was like kidnapped 3 or 4 times before the age of 13.
God, he must have been very good.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. And that's in, not that distant history, really. I mean, that's still like a kind of a history we understand a fair bit about the society. I mean, even as late as the mid to late 1700s, I'm going to say, around the time of Haydn, the composer, Joseph Haydn, composers weren't artists in the way we consider them now.
Servants.
Yeah, well, they were craftsmen.
Oh, yes.
So a composer was like a carpenter. I think a great carpenter who makes, beautiful cabinets or beautiful chairs or whatever is kind of seen as an artist and his work is appreciated.
But not the same way.
It's not the way we think of artists now.
Yeah.
And we think of composers now. We have the idea of like this romantic tortured hero, pouring their soul out into the page.
Exactly. Yeah.
They had a job. They were craftsmen. Even like people, like Bach, who's like one of the greatest composers of all time in the kind of how we view the canon. He wrote a cantata every week for like 30 years.
Cantata is a song work?
It's a big work. He wrote like a load of music for church at the weekend every week.
His entire output is up in the thousands of pieces, isn't it? Like many thousands.
Huge.
Massive.
Because that was his job. Was he got up in the morning and he went to choir rehearsal and he conducted the choir and he talked to the musicians and he shouted at them when they played the wrong notes. And then he wrote down music all day for his entire life. Yeah.
It's definitely far removed from the artist thing.
And that's even only getting into like Western music. I mean, if we talk about the music of other cultures, then like it's like so far apart. Like Maori music theory. Maori music is so completely different.
Do you know anything about Maori music theory?
Yes.
Oh.
We had a chap come to college when I was in maybe 4th year, who a New Zealand chap.
I missed it.
A New Zealander chap, who is a composer, and he had done a little bit of work about Maori music, and it's heavily microtonal, so very very small distinctions in pitch and very small spans. So, we have very low notes and very high notes. Mari music often takes place within only like kind of what we would have maybe 4 or 5 notes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and more notes within that space.
Yeah, and then it's not about specific pitches. It's about intonation and timbre and glissant, like gliding between the pitches rather than actually having boop, boop, boop.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I had no idea about that music. Wow.
I mean, I'm half remembering this from a lecture 3 years ago, so maybe some of the details are wrong, but that's the gist of what he said.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this that kind of highlights the fact that one should not worry too much about theoretical things and worry about like about how a culture views their music as opposed to like how many notes exactly do they use and like what's the theory around it.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess to give kind of a more direct answer to Jafiki, it's really hard to say what it would mean for a culture's music to be tetratonic or pentatonic. For general advice on world building music, I would say think about the cultural side of things and
I would say, sorry to interrupt, I would say use music as a metaphor for whatever your story you're trying to tell.
Well, yeah, that can be an effective tactic,
Definitely.
For sure.
And then that bypasses all the theoretical stuff. I think a good example, I'm going to get the place wrong, but there exists a music somewhere, I don't know where, I read about this a while ago, that has this concept that certain notes have a certain quality and certain other notes have an opposing quality. And that for one to be a skilled musician, one needs to balance out the sort of yin-yang. I use yin-yang, but I don't think it's Chinese. And that has nothing got to do with theory. Like you can easily evolve that in a story. Like, like the old sensei gives a an account of the state of the universe to his Padawan or whatever, and he uses this music as a metaphor.
Yeah.
And that is a way of not having to worry about like the theoretical underpinnings, which no one
exactly.
cares.
Yeah. And it's so hard to actually break away from the theoretical underpinnings because we're so raised to it. I mean, even like sitting down to write music, if you like write it in sheet music, you're already buying into the underlying assumptions of what sheet music is, which is Western 12 notes per octave system.
Because it's ridiculously difficult to notate something that isn't Western in our system,
So, I mean, if you want to world build music and you actually want to create the music, I would say really do think about the theory. Sit down and like look at it from foreign perspectives. Look at it or listen to it with the ears of other cultures. Look at it with fresh eyes.
It's a research thing.
It is a research thing.
Listen loads.
What it means for a culture's music to be tetratonic, and also it can be lots of different things. Like not all Western music is the same.
Yeah.
Not all music that uses the diatonic or chromatic or whatever, however you want to describe Western music, is the same. There's so many different ways to talk about it. The same could probably be said of tetratonic and pentatonic music.
Exactly. Definitely.
So, I mean, definitely keep sending us questions about music because I can, Edgar, I can spout off about this for literal days on
If
end.
someone sends like Napoleonic era music questions to Bill, he might just have a heart attack, and like in a good sense.
I'll just start singing Heart of Oak.
Oh, will you? But yeah, it's a very interesting question, and it's like Bill says, it's something, or like we kind of both agree on, it's something that requires years of study to really actually be able to answer. So I don't know how well we talked about it, but hopefully we gave some ideas to get the mind going.
Try it out. Sit down and get instruments, build instruments that divide the octave into 4 or 5 notes and come up with something.
Yeah.
Why
See how
not?
it goes. Yeah, exactly. Come up with your own notation system for it.
Yeah.
It's something that we would probably like to see.
Yeah. Oh, I would absolutely love to see that. If anyone comes up with alternative notation systems, that would be superb.
Although I've divorced myself from the whole music composing scene, that is something I still would be very interested in as well. So if someone wants to send us that, email us. We'll throw the little contact thing in the show notes. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Okay. So what else we got? Oh, should we do some flag corner?
Okay. So I'm gonna send something to you on Facebook, Edgar, which I want you to look at.
Okay, I need to open up Facebook. All right, well, this is very interesting.
I'm literally Facebooking you, and you are at 1 meter away from me.
I know, right? Modern times, these times we live in.
This is... Okay, so I know you want this to be a corner for flags you don't like, but I'm gonna claim this as awesome flag corner.
Okay, all right, okay. Awaiting message? Is it
no, my Facebook hasn't opened yet. I'll try to do it on my phone. No, here we go. Okay, check out this flag.
Okay, opening link now. Oh, Okay, so I was doing some research into a flag for today, and this is actually on my shortlist for one of the shit flags that I was going to talk about.
I think it's brilliant.
How
Would you care to describe it,
Yeah,
Edgar?
let's describe. Okay, so it is a red background, and there is a golden bear encased in what looks like it kind of looks like the path of an electron around an atom.
The three orbitals. Three stylized orbitals.
Three stylized orbitals encasing this golden bear who is tearing apart what looks to be an egg of some description. And he's got a very disgruntled look. And he's trying to break free of the orbitals as well. And also, the little shading on the bear looks like little like Harry Potter lightning bolt strikes.
Oh, it does a little.
Yeah, it's not great. Why do we like this?
It's the flag of Zheleznogorsk, which is a closed city in Russia.
What do you mean a closed city?
It's you can't just go there. Like it's a restricted access.
Oh, right, okay.
As far as I know, anyway.
Oh, is it like military or?
Well, it's where it was the center of uranium enrichment for weapons.
Oh.
And it's now it's important to the Russian space programs.
Oh God. That's why it's like, okay.
What's the bear doing?
He's tearing apart the nucleus.
He's tearing apart
the
the
nucleus. God,
nucleus.
it's so terrible. That's so awful. And the bear is the Russian thing, isn't it?
The bear is Russia, yeah.
Man,
Atomic bear science, Edgar. What is there not to like about atomic bear science?
Such a terrible flag. It's really awful. Oh, it's so bad. And it's got the classic red and yellow communist things. That's just It's like the Soviet response to the California flag with the bear on it. It's like the Soviet version of that. I can't think of any other bear flags. There are other bear flags?
None that come to mind.
Yeah,
No
they're the only two.
obvious ones.
So you just like it because it's got atomic bear science.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
So you're totally waiving the fact that it's terrible flag
It's
design.
not a terrible flag design.
Man, but like one of the rules of a good flag is that children should be able to draw.
That's rubbish.
That's not rubbish.
That's absolute.
How is that rubbish?
Rubbish. Some guy said that.
No, but it wasn't just some guy. It's in like the style rules for a vexillological association. I can't remember which one. I'll put it in the show notes. But it's like a style guide.
So.
But that's like going double spacing in academic papers is just such rubbish. That's what you do.
No, that's an entirely different context. I mean, this is just it's like, does that mean like the Belarusian flag is terrible, or the
yes,
the Uzbekistani flag,
yes,
the Portuguese flag,
the Portuguese flag,
the Vatican flag
is tolerable. The Vatican flag is not great. Like those crests on those
Brazil.
Those seal. Well, Brazil is a different. Hold on. Those seals on a blanket sort of flags, they are all terrible. So Portugal's terrible. Vatican's terrible. What else is terrible? Anything with all those little tiny nations that have the English flag plus a crest, they're all terrible. They can't be reproduced easily.
So?
Not iconic enough. You have to be like.
But okay, how accurate do you have to be? Because the American flag is hard to get right.
Yeah, you don't have to be accurate, but I mean, like, you cannot achieve any accuracy at all, I think, with the Portuguese flag. Like, I study flags a lot. I look at a lot of flags per day, and I could not even attempt to reproduce the Portuguese crest in the middle. Same
Mexico.
With what?
The Mexican flag's amazing.
Mexican flag. Yeah, that thing in the middle, who knows? No idea.
Such a great flag.
I think it has to be a graphic design, minimal colors thing to be a good flag. And
Really?
that bear doesn't fall into it. That bear's a shocking flag, man.
Brilliant.
I'm really glad.
It just looks so cool.
It's a nice picture, just not a good flag. You never, and like if you're like, say you're like a kilometer away, maybe that's a bit far, but you're a distance away from the flag and it's blowing in the breeze. You're not going to see the bear. Who's going to see the bear? Never. The whole point of a flag is that identifiable from a distance.
But like, you'd still see what flag it is, even if you don't make out the specificity that it's a bear.
You'd see a red plus yellow thing. So why not eliminate the bear and just make a stylized symbol that is red plus yellow? So from a distance, it's the same thing.
But like, if it's going to be the same thing from a distance anyway, why not have something that's stylized when you look up close?
Extra added strain on whoever makes the flag. They have to go and make this intricate thing when it serves no function.
It does. It looks cool. That's totally a valid function.
I am glad though that you brought this up, because I was like, oh no, he's going to talk about really good flags, and all we're going to do is sit here and go, yeah, it's a really good flag. It's terrible, and you love it. That's great.
It's awesome. It's an awesome flag.
There's conflict within this debate. I love it. I have an example of a terrible flag, but in a non-expected way.
Oh yeah?
I'm about to hand you a gift I got from someone who I really hope isn't listening. I should double check before I set this live. No, it's fine.
You can just take that line out.
I'm gonna they won't be listening. Definitely not. I'm gonna hand you this. I'm going to describe it, and you're going to tell me what's wrong. Okay, don't say anything before I finish my description. So I have handed Bill a mug, plain old mug, and on it is a load of flags, which is fine, but there are numerous problems that I really don't like, and it really aggravates me. So I want to see if Bill can see it. Okay, so Bill is pointing at. Do you want me to bring this up?
Spain.
Bill is pointing at a flag of Spain. Well, first of all, what are all these flags? These are
flags of Europe.
So it's a mug with all the flags of Europe on it. Now you pointed at Spain. Now what is wrong with Spain?
Does the Spanish flag have that crest?
Yeah, well it has a crest.
Does it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, I thought it was red and yellow.
No, it has a crest.
Okay, well never mind that then. Okay, well I can think of a couple problems.
Okay, what's name? There are lots of problems. Name one.
They're all 1 to 2, I think.
They're all in the same ratio. So flags like Switzerland suffer.
The Vatican City.
The Vatican City suffers. Now that I can get by because I'm like, oh, they need to cram them all onto a mug. There's something I cannot get by. Can you find it? And I'll throw links in the show notes to a picture of this so people can see. Bill is studying it in detail. His eyes squinted.
Poland's the right way around anyway.
Poland is good. Poland is not Indonesia. That's always good. Well done, vexillological cup makers. Oh, he can't find it as readily as I did. Listeners, when I got this present off a friend, this popped out immediately, and I became very angry, and I couldn't hide my anger in front of them, and I think I may have semi-offended them, which is just terrible. Give me another 5 seconds. 5, 4.
Is it
3?
The definition of Europe?
2. Could be. Do you want to elaborate?
Kazakhstan is on it.
Kazakhstan is on a flag of Europe's cup. That is so terrible. It's not even funny. Kazakhstan, for anyone who doesn't know, is beyond the Black Sea, is east of the Black Sea. And this is beyond the likes of Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, like even more east. It borders Mongolia.
It doesn't.
It does border Mongolia.
I don't think it does.
I think it does.
No, I don't think so. Let's
double check it.
It comes very close to it. I think it comes to it, and then there's a bit of China and Russia, and then it's Mongolia.
Okay. It borders China. Like, it's not in Europe.
So does Russia.
Yeah, Russia we can't count. But it's not in Europe. And then people said to me, oh, it's a cup of the flags of people partaking in the Eurovision. So the Eurovision, for people, is a annual song contest held where all the countries of Europe, and I use the word countries of Europe very loosely, take part in a sing-along, and a winner is... A sing against, and a winner is crowned, and everyone's all happy about it. Kazakhstan has shown interest in joining the Eurovision. Apparently the Eurovision is huge in Kazakhstan. So they were like, oh yeah, the Kazakhstan is in Europe. And then my retort to that is, well, they have the Vatican City. That doesn't take part in Eurovision.
They don't have Israel.
They don't have Israel. This flag...
Israel does take part. It's not in Europe, but it does tend to take part in the
exactly.
Eurovision.
So this flag is wrong on so many accounts. And then a further account was that on its second cup of tea, within it, it cracked.
Yeah, I know there's a big crack in it.
So it no longer... it doesn't function as a collection of flags of Europe, and it doesn't function as a cup. And it's the former that really annoys me more. So I'll throw a link in the show notes. I couldn't get over the fact that someone put Kazakhstan in a flag of Europe thing. It's just horrendous.
There's like maybe a 30-kilometer stretch of China-Russia border separating Mongolia and Kazakhstan.
Okay.
They're just a little bit apart.
Either way, it's bordering China.
It's 30 kilometers away from Mongolia.
yeah, it's not Europe in any way, shape or form. Like, and I realize that continents are really like semantic things, you know. But yeah.
Well, it's a cultural thing, and culturally it isn't part of Europe.
Yeah, culturally it's not part of Europe. So anyhow, that was a funny gift, and I really offended the person giving it to me because I was like, oh, vexillologically inaccurate, not good.
Okay, so from this point out, it is going to be spoilerific.
We are now in Star Wars.
We're talking about Star Wars, so we will be discussing the new film, The Force Awakens,
then there will be spoilers.
We're going to talk about what happens. We're not going to
Yeah.
be able to avoid talking about spoilers. So I'm afraid if you don't want to get things spoiled and you haven't seen it yet, now is a good time to duck out. You can return to this episode once you have seen it.
Yeah, totally.
In fact, if you don't care, then listen on.
You're like me, I don't care about spoilers.
Really?
Yeah, if someone spoiled something for me, I don't care. Someone spoiled the last book of Game of Thrones for me, and I was like, meh, so...
Okay.
I think I said this before, I get joy in seeing how a thing is executed as opposed to like what actually happens.
I actually had a couple things spoiled on me this morning.
Oh, for...
Because I was reading TV tropes, and I had been reading about Usual Suspects, which I've seen, although I did have that spoiled on me before I saw it. So that's the kind of thing where a spoiler would bother, because the ending of The Usual Suspects is what it's all about. Like, there's a big twist ending.
Oh, spoiler alert,
it changes like the entire interpretation of the film.
Yeah. There are times that it does really, really affect. Yeah.
So what did I have? I had BioShock Infinite spoiled on me. Funny enough, actually, after talking about it yesterday with you,
right.
I got the ending spoiled on me.
Huh.
But I'm still going to play it because I still want to see how that happens.
Exactly.
It still seems weird.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of How I Met Your Mother spoiled as well. But apparently that's meant to be a terrible ending and kind of ruins the whole rest of the TV show in hindsight. So
it's meant to be a very good TV show. I've heard
it, yeah, a lot of people liked it, but a lot of people hated the ending.
Oh, really?
And that the ending kind of took away from how good the rest of it was.
Anyways, should we do some Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Let's do Star Wars. Okay, so I suppose the best thing to do would be to give a really concise overview of what we thought, and then maybe go into more detail. Okay? My opinion, now, I need to stress, and I think this goes for both of us, is that these are our initial opinions. We just watched it last night. They are very liable to change.
Yeah, this is like 16 hours ago.
Yeah, a mere matter of hours after the event. My initial thoughts, after giving it some thought last night before I went to sleep, is that I think it's a bad movie. And I don't think it merits all the joy it's getting on the internet at the moment. That's my thoughts. What are yours?
A phrase popped into my head in the final act.
Okay.
Which I think sums up what I was thinking about it. And that is, at what point does an homage become a rehash?
Yeah, I seen you put that up, and that's very accurate. Do you want to elaborate on that? And here's where the spoilers start.
Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, is very, very similar to A New Hope.
Painfully similar.
Extremely similar.
Yeah.
It begins on a desert planet with a droid carrying a holographic message that the
bad guys want.
The bad guys want, and the good guys, whose name begins with Re, want to save from the bad guys. It begins on a desert planet, and then the plucky heroes head off, and they get caught up with the good guys, and the giant planet-killing laser death machine in space
is the Death Star.
The Death Star. They've got another Death Star. It's the third Death Star. It's called the Starkiller Base.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the same as the Death Star.
It's the Death Star the size of a planet, not a moon.
The ending, the good guys fly in with the X-Wings and blow up the Death Star.
And it was the same process. The blowing up the Death Star was the same. They had a small target to hit.
Yeah.
They all had to just aim for that.
Like where they're flying down the alley. Yeah. It's very, very similar shot.
Painfully similar. Now, do you have anything further to add on the synopsis there?
There was one more similarity. What was it? It'll come back to me later.
Okay. I like Bill's idea of trying to see the positive in things. And I've actually been taking this on board. And in life in general, I've tried to not be so critical of things. No, that's wrong. I like being critical. It's good to be critical, but also try and see the good of a thing, you know? So, I like I said, I did not like this movie. I think this movie is borderline offensive to people who really like Star Wars. But the good points, and unexpectedly good points, were that the little robot... I think you and I both thought this.
Because I don't like cute things in action-y kind of movie. I don't like family-friendly stuff. I don't like kids in films for the most part. Kids films, like if they're actually like kids films, it's different. But it's like, the plucky kid in sort of an action-y family movie. I usually hate them.
Yeah.
And I don't usually like cute things. But BB-8, big fan.
Great. BB-8 is awesome.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
And adorable. And I'm on board.
Coming into that, I thought he was just there to sell toys, like the Ewoks were in the original thing. And it's clearly working because everyone has bought a BB-8 before they even seen the film. But he actually plays a good role in the story, and he has a good character to him for just being a little robot. He's a better R2-D2 than R2-D2 is in a way. I think, like Bill said, this film is a New Hope point 2. It's a better New Hope than the original New Hope, but that doesn't make it good. Do you know, like, well, what's another good point? I thought the lightsaber fights. We didn't talk about this too much last night, you and I. They were, so in the original ones, they were very static.
Right.
You know, wasn't really much movement. There wasn't really much of a martial art. Exactly. And the whole point was that, well, people say the whole point is that it was more about the intensity of the emotions going on in the scene than the actual fighting. I think a more accurate description was that they just didn't have budget to maybe hire all these stuntmen and all the elaborate sets and things like that. In this, and then in the prequels, it was way over the top. Like remember Yoda doing the stupid spinny stuff, and remember all that?
I remember really enjoying that at the time.
Oh, I thought it was stupid. It was almost like a capoeira showcase.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to a lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
And in this film, they do a good thing. It's new enough that it doesn't look static, but it's not the stupid flipping around. It's a really good mix between the old and the new, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You had a very interesting point about lightsaber fights. Do you want to bring that up? I think people should know this. At the very end,
yes.
I think Bill had a moment of really great insight here.
So when Rey is fighting Kylo Ren.
So Rey is
the female protagonist.
The female protagonist, yeah.
At the end, and she like knocks back Kylo Ren is the correct name?
Kylo Ren.
Or Rilo Ken?
Something like that.
Kylo Ren? Let's check.
I think it's Kylo Ren. Yeah.
I think it's Kylo Ren. She knocks him back, and she goes for a huge like overhand, like so as though you're wielding a big sword. Lightsaber's behind her head, huge overhand chop down on top of him. Which you wouldn't really need if you've got a laser sword, because strength isn't going to be that much of an issue, presumably.
And you found this really bad.
Well, I didn't find that bad necessarily. I was just telling that's an interesting thing to think about when talking about lightsabers, is that strength won't actually be that much of a big deal.
And then my point on that was that it was to show that she was untrained in the ways of the Force.
Yeah, that she doesn't have any nuance or finesse to her.
But that's not the bit I'm on about.
Oh,
the other bit. The other really interesting bit.
The first time a lightsaber is turned on in the whole film.
Well, keep going.
It is.
I still think this isn't the part, but keep going.
Okay, well, this is when Finn is fighting the stormtroopers outside Maz's, like when Maz's cantina gets destroyed. Finn like just runs up and like puts the lightsaber into a dude and then turns it on. It's like there's no finesse or anything whatsoever. Yeah. He just runs up and right into it and then turns it on. Like the complete opposite of like grace, and I thought that was class because
he had no training as well.
Yeah, and he's just like fighting for survival. It's like, damn, gotta kill a dude.
Yeah,
kill
exactly.
Dude.
Yeah,
that's not what you're talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about. At the end when they have when Kylo Ren and Rey fight it out, and the moment where they're doing the starey thing and their lightsabers are...
Oh, that thing, yeah.
That thing. Because, no, this is actually genius on your part. I can't believe you put the other two before this. So, to set it up, the bad guy, Kylo Ren, is fighting our female protagonist, Rey, and they're having, the classic good guy, bad guy duel off. And there's a lot of moments where their lightsabers clash and they stick, and then there's a lot of looking at one another and the intensity of all this jazz going on. And Bill had a thought about what should have happened when their lightsabers clashed. Go for it.
So he said something to her about the Force, and there was like a pause while they looked at each other, and it was as though she was getting an epiphany about the use of the Force.
Yeah, I took
and then she just like pushes him back, and they keep fighting. What I thought was going to happen was that she would turn off the lightsaber
while the two lightsabers
were locked, right? So she would turn off the lightsaber and sidestep his swipe, and then turn it on again, so she'd be inside his guard,
and then take him.
Yeah,
that would be class.
Surely someone in some like expanded universe media in Star Wars has written about the tactical use of turning off the lightsaber.
I'd love to hear about that.
Surely someone's done that.
Definitely. I thought that was genius.
Because lightsaber is like so interesting as a weapon, because it's just a line segment. There's no dimensionality to it. It's just like you hit people with this segment of like this thing in space. Between this point and this point, you hurt people.
Yeah.
And so you could do so much cool stuff with the fact that it turns off and on pretty much instantly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. I think that's a huge tactical thing and I think they should have dropped that in. Like if they had realized that, they really should have dropped it in, because that would have been cool and I think very unexpected to audience members.
Yeah.
Whereas it turned out to be a bit of a lame scene, didn't it? It was a bit. She looked at him for a bit. He looked at her for a bit. It was all very much intense. Lots of eye contact, low hum in the background, and then they continued on with the fighting. Yeah. It felt like it was missing a bit. That bit. I think you hit the nail on the head with what it should have been.
Yeah.
Overall, more good points on my part, and feel free to disagree if this is the case, is that the use of CGI overall was good.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, it wasn't prequel standard CGI, which is great. Few dodgy parts. When Solo dies, spoilers, sorry. When Han Solo dies and he falls off a thing, it's a bit CGI-ish. You can see that he's turned into a computer graphic and things like that. The CGI was good, it was minimal, and there was lots of practical effects, which were interesting. Because I like movies with practical effects because it shows a real craft. You know, they had to get some bespoke craftsmen in to make all these things, which I think is cool. What do you think about that?
It's not the kind of thing I tend to pick up on much.
Really?
No.
And like even they dropped particular scenes where you were made to look at the practical effects and you didn't pick up at all? Oh.
No.
All right. Well, you weren't as aware of this, the whole like do it practical ethos they had.
No, and if I had been, I still wouldn't really have registered. No, okay. I don't think so.
Do you think they did a good job? Any of it jarring? Did any of it look like, oh Christ, that's stop motion? That's awful.
No.
Okay, well, I thought so too.
Well, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, if it doesn't take you out of it, then they've done the job well.
Very, very well.
I mean, like there's, I'm not fully decided about the film yet. There's a good bit of stuff I didn't like about it, like the fact that it's just it felt like such a rehash of A New Hope. It's like a third Death Star. It's 3 out of the 7 movies.
My problem is that there was just very little originality in that film.
It didn't beat you over the head with references to the canon.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for films to do that, I think, to put in like nods for the for the audience, and like, you know, oh well, every character that you see is connected to something else and stuff like that. And there was a few things like Rey makes a joke to Solo, or says something to Solo about the Kessel Run.
Yeah, the Millennium Falcon
they did it in 14 parsecs. He goes, it was 12. You know, that was kind of funny. And there's like little stuff like that that's done well. There are more black people in Star Wars now. So
it's more diverse.
Good.
More diverse.
Yeah, that's great. There's only really one previously, I guess.
No.
Just Lando.
Oh yeah, Lando. Yeah, of course. Yeah, in the is he in the prequels?
No, in Empire Strikes Back.
There was that. Was he a pilot or a captain in the prequels?
Possibly.
I can't remember.
Possibly.
But yeah, no.
But they're doing good stuff in increasing representation in terms of gender and race.
Yeah, definitely.
Rey is like the most badass of the more badass of the two characters.
The most compelling character in it. Yeah, definitely.
We don't know a lot about her.
No.
We don't actually know much about Rey.
No.
We know that she has a backstory, that there is something in her past.
We know
she's waiting for family. She was abandoned on Jakku.
Jakku, which is the desert planet we mentioned.
The desert planet,
which is totally not Tatooine. And even the sun on Jakku looked like the sun on Tatooine, minus the other thing.
Did it?
Yeah. I was like, hang on. This is like this. I thought that was one of the more over-the-head nods, where there was like a almost the exact same shot, minus like Skywalker, like the desert, and it's sunset, and you have the goldeny sun. And I was like, all it's missing is that additional sun. And then it's literally Tatooine, you know?
I'm looking forward to seeing people write about it and what they
think.
Well, yeah, kind of critical reception of it.
Because you had another great idea in the cinema. Do you want to tell people?
The environmental thing.
The environmental thing, yeah.
So obviously, Starkiller Base, it draws its power from a sun. So I assume it teleports around like the Death Star can do. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't realize. Does the Death Star teleport?
I said it doesn't teleport. The Death Star has warp drives, I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because like it goes like kind of near to Alderaan and blows up Alderaan, and then it goes somewhere else. I assume that the Starkiller Base can do the same. Yeah. So it draws its power from the sun, and it's the base itself is like an ice planet, and then the fight scene between Kylo Ren and Rey. Takes place in a forest, and they cut down loads of trees, like their wild swings keep like the lightsabers pass through trees and stuff. Just
to clarify, because it can get confusing if you haven't watched. If you're one of the people who don't care about spoilers and are listening anyways, the Starkiller Base is a planet.
Sorry, yes,
the Starkiller Base. This is what we've been referring to as a third Death Star.
Yes,
it is a planet. And they've
they've built a giant death ray inside
the planet, exactly.
It looks cool as hell.
It does look cool.
It looks cool as all hell.
Very cool. Very, very cool. And that's what I say, a better New Hope. It's a better Death Star than the original one. And what happens is that this base travels close to stars and sucks in all the star material into like a big vacuum hole in the middle. It's stored there, and then they travel around on this planet that has been retrofitted to be a weapon and then blow up places. And so you were saying the fight takes place on an icy biome on this planet, which is the weapon.
Yeah. So they're on the surface of Starkiller Base, which is this ice planet, and they're in a forest. While and just after, it's actually just after the sun has been consumed, and the combat, the lightsaber swings keep like chopping through trees, and it's kind of laying waste to the forest. So I'm wondering, is there anyone going to write anything about the environmental? Kind of environmental critical reception of that, because first of all, the weapon destroys the sun, like the source of life.
Yeah.
And then the combat afterwards is like destroying nature. Like, the forest is used as kind of like a primal thing of nature. It's nature in its purest form or whatever. And the violence there is causing damage to that. And I suppose the entire planet has been perverted into being a weapon. Maybe you could say something about that as well.
Yeah.
Like they've like the way it's shown visually, like there's a huge, like maybe like a quarter of the distance between the equator and the pole has been excavated. Yeah. And into this like huge trench that is part of the weapon. Yeah, yeah. It's a planet with a big chunk taken out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you could also read into it like industrialization things and modernization, and the aggressive modernization sort of thing.
And that would all come in on.
My point I wanted to make to you, I didn't make it last night when we were watching it, is that is this sort of analysis valid?
I don't know enough about that to say.
Okay, because I'm thinking like, surely I can't presume to talk for Abrams and his writing team, but surely like they're aiming to make another Star Wars. I wouldn't imagine they're aiming to make a film about environmental critique. So my point to you is, I know, but yeah, I'm just interested to see how it works. My point to you is, if one can read something into it, is it valid because you make those connections, even though, say, no one perhaps intended that?
Yes.
And reasons for? Like,
why is that valid?
At what point does it go from being interpreting what you see and just making up? Like, where is the line where it's no longer acceptable to be like, oh, this is an interpretation of this?
All right. There's a concept, and this is a concept a lot of difficulty with, but it's the death of the author. So that what the author actually intends isn't always that relevant to a work. And I mean, I think you can take that a bit far. My issue is where you say things like nothing means anything, so then everything can mean something. You can take any interpretation from anything at all, which I think is clearly not really the case. But I mean, the fact that no one had an intention to say anything about environmentalism when making the film doesn't mean that they didn't use powerful imagery that can still have relevance. And also because not everyone thinks about every single thing that they're doing. We exist in a cultural soup that we're not fully aware of.
Yeah.
You know? And this is why like things like representation of race and gender are so important, because we live in a society that has inequalities on so many bases that we need to make a specific effort to combat those things, because they're things that we're not aware of. And this is the same. Like, even though they're not actually thinking about environmentalism, they still have, like, it has destroyed a sun. A forest is being damaged because of violence. There are still things that you can say about what that says.
So as long as the critique is based on something tangible, it is valid critique.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, like, the other thing is all these fields decide themselves what is valid and what isn't. I mean, you know, at some point, it's only going to be unto its own authority.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. Like, there's you can't have, like, nailed down a perfect modernist idea of what is and isn't valid critique, but because it is a postmodern concept.
This is why I'm putting it to you, because this sort of thing it's hard for me to pin down.
Yeah.
And I just found it very interesting when you brought that up. I was kind of like, okay, but why is that okay to say that? I don't understand, because I was like, they were sitting around going, how do we make a really good blockbuster? Not go, how do we?
Sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So,
but the point of this kind of critical analysis isn't necessarily to make declarative statements. It's to have dialogue. It's not necessarily saying this is what this film is about. It's just saying, look at what is in this film. What does that say?
In a way, the film is irrelevant. In the way, it's a springboard for a discussion.
Not exactly, because you're still talking about what happened in the film. You're discussing the imagery in the film and what that could be interpreted to mean. You're still like, it still is based in.
That's really interesting. Sorry, I realize probably not. This is not what everyone wants to hear.
Probably, I mean, like, honestly, I don't know that much about this kind of stuff. I know a little bit about it.
Yeah, but I know nothing.
Yeah,
and therefore I ask you questions. So, what do you have any other comments on Star Wars? Anything that pop out that you think you want to put into the public domain? I have one thing on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
I think the Millennium Falcon was portrayed as being too slick.
Right.
I think I'm a real purist in this sense. I see the Millennium Falcon as being this kind of like blundering old wreck of a ship that kind of gets by because it's plucky. You know, there's a character to it. It has a thing to it. Mm-hmm. And in this movie, there is a lot of the Millennium Falcon doing like death-defying feats. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I just took away, because there was a character to the Millennium Falcon, and I think it took away from that character. It became yet another vehicle. Like, if you didn't already know the Star Wars thing, it would be just yet another vehicle that happens to have a name. And it didn't have the sort of feeling of luck on its side the way it did have in the original one. And that bugged me. I think they didn't need to do that, I don't think, you know. Because it did some pretty intricate stuff when they're going through the old destroyers. All that flying in little tiny cramped quarters, you know.
Yeah, but Rey's badass, so that's why that worked.
Yeah, but I don't know. I genuinely enjoyed the character of the Millennium Falcon in the early ones. I think they're really good. They're really good.
I liked the monsters on the freighter.
The monsters on the freighter?
Remember, Rey tries to like block off the corridors, but accidentally opens the freights.
Well, did you? What was?
There's a monster in D&D called an Otu.
Okay.
Or an Otu or something.
Oh, they're all in Final Fantasy as well.
Are they?
Yeah.
What do they look like in Final Fantasy?
They look like a bulbous type thing that kind of has a flat top, and then out of this flat top comes like tentacles, green tentacles. I always think it's a cross between an onion, an octopus, and a plant in the Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's like that in D&D, but in Final Fantasy they always tend to look sort of like that.
Yeah,
and there's an element of poison about them. Is this a thing that's in D&D?
I think they're usually tripedal. And they've got like a load of tentacles, and they live in like middens and like rubbish pits and stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
and they've got like big long tentacles.
Different in Final Fantasy. In Final Fantasy, they're seen as a forest creature.
I'm going to look up Otu Final Fantasy and see what they look like. No, that's not totally different. I could see.
They look more like a plant.
Yeah, no, but like the shape is roughly similar.
Okay, all right.
Similar kind of shape. And these monsters were kind of like that as well. Like they were like bulbous and had big mouths and big long tentacles. They were just kind of space Otus.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
Oh, I didn't think of that.
It's just a good design for a monster.
I thought it was hilarious that Solo was hauling them. Finn, the ex-stormtrooper, isn't it? He's an ex-stormtrooper.
He's a stormtrooper who loses his taste for war crimes.
Yeah, exactly. He says to Solo, like, he cannot believe that Solo is hauling one of these space Otus. And then Solo turns around and says, I got 3 of them. Which I thought was just great.
What couple of things I didn't like.
Okay, go for it.
I liked the setup. Was that, like, the Empire didn't just die cleanly. It wasn't like, Empire's gone, Republic now, everything fine. The story picks up 30 years later. And it's still not a fully solid victory. The Empire has been replaced by the First Order, who have stormtroopers, and they're kind of allied with the dark side of the Force or whatever. And there's the Resistance fight them, but the Resistance are separate to the Republic somehow. That's not really kind of made clear.
Yeah.
But I like that it wasn't clean. I like that it's a little bit messy. The aftermath of Return of the Jedi isn't a clean...
It's real world.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be in the real world.
But then, the Planet Killer base destroys the Republic halfway through the film. And that's it. And that's like, it's done now. There's no more Republic, and this is kind of...
Oh yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It takes out those 5 planets or whatever.
It destroys the system that where the Republic Senate is.
Oh yeah.
And that's not really very well, like, you don't get any sense of kind of big deal to that, because they haven't set up the Republic as being a thing.
When you said that, I was like, oh, I thought they just took out planets as a show of force. And then I had to really think and be like, oh no, they're the Republic, because it wasn't set up as being, like you say, an important thing.
Yeah, like they didn't put any time into like clarifying what's going on in the setting, really.
Yeah.
So that these supposedly momentous events don't feel big.
I'm with you on that.
And it 100%. Says, I think, does Akbar say to General Organa at some point, that they, without the help of the Republic's fleet, so presumably the Republic fleet has been destroyed. But again, we don't know anything about that, and we don't know...
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, feel like anything.
You're dead right. I hadn't thought of that at all. Yeah.
And I thought there was some pretty lazy writing in it.
Oh, elaborate.
Cole just kind of turns up. The pilot, who Finn escaped. Poe, sorry.
Is it Poe?
Poe, it's Poe, yeah.
Poe.
I couldn't, someone actually told me that last night, but I couldn't remember what it was, and there's a few names I was getting confused by. Poe just, like, is back at the rebel base. You've assumed he's dead, and...
Deus Ex Machina, anyone?
Well, not even just Deus Ex Machina, just like, here I am. I've been here all along. And then R2-D2 just, like, decides to wake up again at the end of the film.
Out of nowhere.
Solves the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And
solves that plot thing.
And it was set up that he was like, he had been in low power mode because Luke had gone.
Yeah,
so the logical thing would be that he would power back up if Luke was somehow maybe near.
Yeah.
Or things like that, or he, I don't know, sensed Luke, or Luke sensed it. But there was nothing to do with Luke. Like, in that bit.
Like, okay, we've done the main part of the plot now. We just need to get to Luke. Turn on R2-D2.
Yeah, that was really lazy.
Out of nowhere. I was like, what was that about?
That was stupid. Although, the little interaction between R2-D2 and BB-8 was very cute.
That was quite cute.
That was very cute.
BB-8 is hella cute.
Hella cute. There was a bit that I thought was dodgy on the lore side of things.
Oh, yeah?
This was 30 years after the old films, you say?
It's set 30 years after the Battle of Endor, I think, yeah.
Luke is portrayed as a mythological figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, Luke Skywalker, did he actually exist? Like, is he not a legend? It was like, this happened 30 years ago.
But it happened 30 years ago in a galaxy. Like, I mean, that is a big scale thing. You know, there's a lot of time for, like, people to be so far removed from that, you know? Yeah,
this is also a galaxy that allows travel from one end to the other in about a month.
Yeah, but I mean, like, still, it's like, that's trillions of humans, of individuals.
I don't know, that was really jarring to me. I take your point.
Yeah, I see what you mean, and it is a bit weird.
Just 30 years.
I don't think it's entirely unjustified, but it is a bit weird.
Like, they didn't need to do that. They could have said, like, he was upset about the bad guy turning bad, basically.
Yeah.
And you could just, like, this is very much like Yoda, but you could just gone in exile. He, like, openly declared, I am no longer a part of this thing, I failed, and then just left.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, he faded into myth. Just very bizarre.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Although
silly.
maybe that is going to be explained as in that's something to do with the Force, that, like, part of his disappearing act was him using Jedi powers to kind of obscure knowledge of him. That'd be kind of cool.
The Force! Hand wave him in its truest form. There's a really good 60 Symbols video. I think, do you know the channel 60 Symbols? It's kind of a physics channel, I suppose. Like Number File. You know Number File, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Number File. It's made by the same guy. Made by Brady Haran. And many years ago, about 2 years ago maybe, they made a video about the Force and tried to talk about it in physics terms. And it's really interesting. It was basically a talk about how the Force is not quantum entanglement. Please stop saying it's quantum entanglement. Because loads of people are saying that, it's just like, for those who don't know, quantum entanglement, the easiest way I can explain this, and the only way I really know, is that we can't think of electrons as being individual. We think of them as all being connected. They're all, like, coupled. Every electron in the universe. And with entanglement, if you change a property of one electron, like a spin or something or whatever, it instantaneously changes the property of another electron. And it could be on the other side of the universe. All right? And so people have used quantum entanglement to justify the Force, that it's Jedis can manipulate and can quantum entangle and manipulate these couplings on a whim. And it sounds very legit. It sounds like it's become hard science. But then this guy in the video, an Irish professor actually, went through and just talked about how that isn't even remotely kind of like, you could know that, like, even in the furthest of futures with the highest level of technology, you will never be able to do that. It's a good video. You should watch it. I'll throw it in the show notes.
That's interesting, because I did come across something recently that was kind of disputing the kind of popular idea of what quantum entanglement is. There was an article on do you read Or Science at all? The science Reddit.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say read. I check the headlines and see if there's anything,
Because there was a headline recently, something to do with quantum entanglement, and
Okay.
the headline, the story said something about using it for like fast and like communication or whatever.
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, you can't do that.
Everyone in the comments was like, "No, that's not what that is.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
entirely not what that is. You don't change anything. You just by looking at it, you see what the spin is, and then you can tell what the spin of the other one is.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot use it as a fashion light thing. Brian Cox, you know Brian Cox,
the rock star.
The rock star.
He was in a band.
No, not that Brian Cox. Brian Cox, the physicist who
was in a band.
No, really?
He was a keyboard player in a band in the 90s.
Get out, was he in a big band? Like, as in, like people would know
they're
of these
called
people.
Dream. I don't recognize them, but a lot of people do, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, he got in trouble a while ago for...
Oh, no, maybe it's not Dream. Come on, bear with me. Yeah, Brian Cox, Northern Irish. Things can only get better.
He's from Northern Ireland?
I don't think he is from Northern Ireland, but they were. They were from Derry.
Huh, there you go.
He's from Battersea.
Anyhow, he got in trouble for doing a talk where he talked about quantum entanglement, and he didn't misrepresent quantum entanglement. He just left it very open for people to interpret this faster than light property.
Right.
And a lot of physicists got very, very up in arms about this. You know, the whole propagation, don't propagate things that can be interpreted the wrong way. Make sure it's said correctly and things like that. But yeah, it's a good video, this quantum entanglement video. You should watch it to try and figure out the force. Deepak Chopra. You know Deepak Chopra? We'll do this for 1 second. I
have a scowl on my face.
Yeah, he does. Bill is looking at me very, very, very badly. He's one of those guys that perpetuates this nonsense that quantum entanglement somehow, or quantum stuff somehow operates on the macro world. Like, the man's a fool. And
charlatan.
He's a charlatan. He is a charlatan. And you've put up statuses about this guy. You're not a fan. So people like that, you know, it's okay to explore quantum entanglement in speculative fiction. That's fine. Just don't do it in serious books that claim to.
Don't try and, you know, cure people's illness with it.
Yeah, with it. It's just stupid, you know. But yeah, anyhow, so do I have any additional thoughts on Star Wars? I suppose a good question would be, are you interested in seeing the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see what happens. You know, I like following stories, and I want to see where things go. As much as anything, I'm really enjoying being present for this cultural event.
Yeah.
In a way, I was a little bit for the prequel trilogy.
I wasn't.
Not to the. I mean, you were like 12 or so when Phantom Menace came out, roughly.
Possibly, yeah.
He was about that age. I mean, I remember like I was old enough when we went to see Episode 3 with my friends. Like, it was like 16 or 17 or something.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a deal, but you know, now I'm like a proper adult, and I can.
You can actually comment on what you're seeing.
Yeah, I can actually. I know a lot more about things, and I can engage more, and I'm more aware of it happening in the cultural sphere.
Me too, actually. Yeah, I'm glad to be part of this. It'd be nice if it was actually something that was monumental, like there's something that was equivalent to the original Star Wars, and being like, I was there. I was around to watch. I watched it the day after it came out. But no one's going to say that in the future about this film. They're going to be like, they rebooted it. Great, you know. I do want to say one more thing about J.J. Abrams that I need to talk about.
Yeah,
I don't like J.J. Abrams as a director. Never mind writer or anything. As a director, I don't like his style. The lens flares are obviously nonsense, and they ruined it. They were one of many ways that ruined.
They contributed to the ruin of
Star Trek, exactly. But also, he has a habit of doing a shaky camera. We spoke about this yesterday, and that can be very like, you can get motion sickness in the cinema if you're sitting there and this massive screen is moving around like this. So I don't think he's a particularly good director. I think he's a good TV director, but his techniques don't translate well onto the big screen, I think. But he toned it down for this. He really did, and I think he remained faithful to the aesthetic of the original, and he didn't J.J. Abrams it up. And I thought that was very good, particularly because he won't be doing all the films. So you can't have like one J.J. Abrams film and then a totally different aesthetic when Rian Johnson steps in and things like that.
Yeah.
There were lens flares, like I pointed out to you, but you didn't notice them that much.
No.
Which is great. Which is really, and I was on the lookout.
It wouldn't necessarily be the kind of thing I would notice.
Yes,
but
I was
consciously aware of.
I was like looking out for it, and the cool thing about all these lens flares is that he did them when there is an actual source of light on screen. It wasn't just like, this is the inside of a cockpit and the screen is going mad with lens flares everywhere. When the sun was up, when the sun was being sucked in or whatever, you could see little lens flares. It was good. It was good that way. So props to J.J. Abrams, and a lot more progressive than the Star Trek things as well. So
Yeah.
although, did he write Star Trek?
I'm not sure.
Was he responsible for writing it?
I'm
Because
not
we give him a
sure.
hard time. And if he didn't write the thing, it's not really his fault. It's his fault for the lens flares, but...
I mean, he's still, as a director, he's a little bit responsible. He's kind of like, the book kind of stops with the director in a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
true,
ways.
yeah. Does the director have the ability or the power to just dismiss writers? Like, if they're brought to him, it's like, I'm not putting my name to this work, go write it again.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Especially as someone with a big name like him.
Okay. Like, big companies would be okay with that.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Directed by, this Star Trek 2009, directed by J.J. Abrams, produced by J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof.
Who's Damon Lindelof? You say that, Bill rolled his eyes there.
He's the guy who wrote Prometheus.
Oh, God! Oh, there we go. That's another problem with that film. I think we've talked a little bit about Prometheus on the podcast, so we won't do it again. But that really is it's one of the worst films ever made.
Oh, and he wrote Into Darkness as well, the second Star Trek
That's the
film.
one with Rata-Khan. Well, not Rata-Khan. It's the one with Khan, in it, isn't it?
Khan Noonien Singh, yes.
Yeah. That's another horrible film.
I saw half of it, thought it was alright, went to the pub because I was going to meet people, and I just could not summon the interest to finish it.
My problem is, because we were asked in an email long ago, like, why we find Star Trek so repulsive, those Star Trek movies. My problem is, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I just want to restate it, is that for me as a Trekkie, and having watched all the Treks all the way up, it was always about commentary. It was always about how they discussed social issues. And it was never about the fighting or space battles or things like that. They were just, the medium to convey the commentary. Whereas the Trek films are like more akin to Transformer movies. It's all fighting, all go, all action, all the time. And there's very little actual commentary and stuff to make you think. Trek made you think.
Yeah,
Those
not
movies
as
don't.
kind of visually unpleasant as the Transformers films.
Yeah, well, they're not unpleasant. They're just visually confused.
I don't like them at all. I find them difficult to watch.
Yeah, because they're so confused. Because there's so much going on.
Yeah,
There's so much stuff.
yeah.
Like unpleasant.
I find that like an unpleasant experience.
All right, so do we have anything to add on this?
No, I think that's it. In summing, I enjoyed Star Trek: The Force Awakens. I like liking things,
Yes.
and I did like it. I had a good time watching it. I have a good few reservations about it, which I've clarified, but I would say it's worth a look.
To summarize as well, if I was a child watching this for the first time, this would be the greatest movie ever. I'm not. I've seen A New Hope already. I didn't need to go see it again. I'm a hardcore nerd fan. I found this a little bit offensive. I give it a solid maybe 5 out of 12 sort of thing, Also, we'd love for people who have watched the movie, please let us know what you think. I'd love to know what you think. And engage us in dialogue and things like that. I'd love to get talking with people on this. And yeah, I suppose this ends episode L.
Episode L.
We need to leave soon. We're catching a train.
I need to pack.
We need to pack. Okay, we really need to leave. I just want to say, can I wish everyone, because this will be the last podcast for Christmas, obviously, can I wish everyone a very happy Christmas.
And a very happy New Year.
Very happy New Year. I hope the holidays are awesome for you guys. And let us know what Santa brought. All right, so will we call it there?
We'll call it there.
All right, okay. Good luck, Bill.
See you, Edgar.